Well, hello, everybody. I'm talking because we didn't really decide which one of us should be talking first, but I'm joined today by our main host, Angel Williams, and her bagel sandwich, which looks pretty awesome. But this is the REI Rocks review. I'm also joined with Jason Williams, and it looks like Angel's having some connectivity issues, but we'll see if that gets fixed. And we're joined with guest host Douglas Dowell. How are you doing today, Douglas?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on, Dan.
Oh, it's definitely my pleasure. Jason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Fantastic. And Angel, do we get a thumbs up for the bagel sandwich? Oh, yeah. All right. And so today on the REI Rocks review, you see Dan Fredenberg covertly switch hats at some point in the live stream, but we're going to watch the mindset panel that we had just a month ago. And I'm really excited to go through this. This was moderated by Amy Silvis. Douglas, do you want to introduce this clip a little bit, and Angel, if maybe you can chime in as he goes.
Absolutely. It was an incredible panel talking about different experiences that the panelists had in capturing the mindset. Entrepreneurship almost by nature is a mindset game. So getting a chance to hear different stories was incredible.
Excellent. And Angel, we're going to be going more than one time speed. Do you want to explain what that's all about for the audience? See if your audio is coming through.
Yeah.
Oh,
is it?
Oh yeah. I hear. Yeah, is it? Do we have that much
so the
lag?
brain can comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but the brain can comprehend speech a lot better than you think it can. And so you can watch videos a lot faster, get them done quicker, and your brain's still going to remember all of it. So that's why I listen to them fast.
Excellent, and it's a good habit to have in general. I find that I always watch at 2 times speed, and if something was important enough to watch at 1 time speed, then it becomes doubly important when you do it at twice the speed. So and nobody starts off good at it. You have to do it in baby steps. So Jason, are you a big fan of speeding up the videos?
Yeah, I always speed up the videos, and you're right. You do get better at it, and I can watch them at like 3 times speed sometimes. So.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. All right, cool. So here we go, the mindset panel, and we're just going to pause it whenever we have a moment where we need to put it into context. This one, there probably is going to be much less pausing, just because it's so up to date. But let's rock and roll. We got.
Can you push the audio through?
Okay, so it's not coming through yet. All right, let me see.
It's coming through. It's just very quiet.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see what's going on with that then. Okay. So the volume is on there, and then I'm going to try stop screen, and then I'm going to hit present, and then I'm going to share screen, and then, okay, look for share audio. Okay. And then that's exactly right. I guess it would be better if I just read the thing. Let's
follow the directions.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we are here on day 3. It is sadly the final day of the summit. And we're really here just to help people that are in that paycheck to paycheck situation, to help them figure out how to get a little bit of financial wiggle room. And so that's really what we're starting out with and what we're doing here. This is going to be a mindset panel, which I know that there are people out there that say, we're not going to start about that mindset fluff. We're going to get straight to it and get straight to the meat and potatoes. And let me just say that it's mindset. When I think about like everything we went through on our first deal, like we went through 5 people and 2 GP teams before we finally wound up with the team that got across the finish line. Because you don't know what people's risk tolerances are. You don't know how people are thinking. And it comes back down to the mindset. If we knew up front that we all had the same or a similar mindset, the same mission, the same, all of those things, I think we probably could have gotten it done. the second team, maybe even the first team, who knows? But it didn't happen that way. So you live and you learn. Amy, I want to let you take over, and I'm going to see if that's video on my phone. So.
Oh, yeah, you got it. Everyone, welcome. This is so exciting. As Angel mentioned, we're going to go ahead and talk about mindset. In my humble opinion, I think it's just as important, if not more so, than kind of the tactical side of what we do in multifamily real estate. And I cannot believe who I get to share the stage with here, Dr. Nancy, Doug, and I know we've got one other panelist that I think is going to join us. But yeah, just to kind of wanted to give a preview for everyone listening. Thanks for joining us. We're really looking to dive in and give some tangible examples and inspire you to help you understand the power of mindset. I know, and we'll talk about this as we go, I have a mindset coach. He happens to be on the call too. Hey, Coach T, or in this room here. But I think it is that important that we're willing to invest in that. So before I kick this off, I want to pass the mic over to Dr. Nancy and then Doug to introduce themselves, and then I'll introduce myself when they're done, and we'll kick this off.
Hey everyone, my name is Nancy Nguyen. I am in Atlanta, Georgia, and I am a wife, a mom, physician and eye surgeon, but I'm also an avid real estate investor. And I've discovered the power of real estate and the positive impact that it has on my family. So now through my company, Clear Vision Investing, I'm just on a mission to empower others and help them, particularly doctors and other medical professionals, invest in real estate so they could live life and practice medicine on their own terms.
Amazing. Thank you so much again for joining us. Doug, let's go.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for inviting Angel and Jason. Thank you so much for this honor of being on this panel and the great. And it's been a truly epic weekend. Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Douglas Stout. I am a commercial real estate developer at heart, primarily on the capital raise side. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is why I'm on the capital raise side and not on the construction side. But at the heart of hearts, and I think one of the reasons why I got invited to this panel, I've had a tremendously interesting, somewhat painful experience as an entrepreneur. And coming back to the entrepreneurial space on the way back, I earned myself a neuro-linguistic programming certificate. So I actually got so deep in the mindset. My mindset was so bad, I had to literally become a life coach to coach myself. And so indeed, my own journey required me to delve deep into realizing that it is. Mindset isn't everything, guys. Mindset isn't everything. It's the only thing.
Powerful. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Angel and Jason, yes, I was remiss in thanking you all so much for inviting us. And I've been attending as much as I possibly can live these past 3 days. It's just been incredible. So, and this topic is so exciting. But before I go on, I'm Amy Silvis of Silvis Capital. I connect folks with great investment opportunities in commercial real estate, namely multifamily and industrial, to help folks generate that passive income they're looking for to design their lives the way they want without the daily hassles of tenants, termites, and toilets. So we all here speak from some real estate experience. Angel, I don't know, you don't need to introduce yourself, right? We already know who you are. Everyone here knows who you are. Fantastic. Well, I'd love to start off because I think we all really understand this value of mindset. And everyone that's listening, I really hope you've got a pen and a pad out with you because there are going to be many nuggets here that you're going to want to make sure to write down. You're going to want to remember, even digest over time because there's going to be a lot of powerful information. So I'm going to be taking notes as we go through too. So take notes along with me. But we all know, as Doug mentioned, this real estate and entrepreneurship journey can have its bumps in the road. And if you're anything like me, starting off, or maybe you're even well into the game and you think, yeah, I just need to know the right people or have the right skill set. But my gosh, there are peaks and valleys inevitably. And mindset is what will really differentiate you and get you further faster to your goals. So Dr. Nancy, I'd like to pitch this over to you and then have Doug and Angel chime in afterwards about, do you mind sharing a story? Let's just get vulnerable about a time when, mindset really was a differentiator, when you struggled, when you really needed to lean on kind of that mindset muscle that I know you had.
I'm going to pause it right there. That's already really exciting. But I think one thing we need to clarify for the audience is who is this intended for? Who's really supposed to be watching this? Who are we expecting is involved? Who wants to say who? Yeah, go for it, Angel.
I can start. So for me, this particular day, it was the third day of the summit, and I've got a real soft spot in my heart for my teacher friends, and I was really hoping that they were going to be able to get on and be a part of this and see, you can get started in cash, and you can build yourself some of the financial wiggle room that you're after, but it's going to start in your head before it starts anywhere. And so that was what I was really hoping for. That was who it was intended for, not just teachers, but really anybody that's in that paycheck to paycheck setup. And with lifestyle creep, anybody can be paycheck to paycheck. But I think it's especially to people that are in lower paying jobs.
Mm-hmm. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really amazing. And, I'll get a little bit controversial and just go I think that there's this perception of landlords that we're tightwads and more. I think it's just a matter that we've learned how to make our money work for us. So the value of $10 here, $20 there, it really starts to change. But now I figured out the right thing to share here, and just make sure you tell me that to pause it if there's any points that you want to stop and comment on.
Absolutely.
I would just start off with how I started real estate was really, even buying that first property was all about mindset. I had all information, I read all the books, I read all the books, listened to hundreds of podcasts, and
The volume's super low again.
The volume's not okay. Hang on. Let's try this again. Holy smokes! So we'll stop that. We'll start that. We'll share again. Hit the window. Okay, no, it's not going to do that. So I do need to share that by clicking that, and I need to click this too. We're having lots of fun. Let's try this again. Tell me if you can.
Only our second try at this. It's a different restreamer, so you know.
Swell. So yeah, okay. So I had to. I'll turn on my second screen here in a second, and then that'll probably make things much better here. So I'll hit this, and then I'll go like that, and then I'll do the whole thing and share. And here we go. Or not. Can we?
So that was a huge hurdle to
right?
even get past that finish line to sign on that paper to close on the property.
That sounds good.
What did you kind of lean on, if you don't mind me asking a deeper question on, how did you overcome that? What did that look like?
It's a lot of internal dialogue, because I think the words that we say to yourself are so powerful. Because if we say, I can't do this, I'm going to lose all my money. But if you just switch a couple of words around and say, well, what if this works? And what if I'm going to make a lot of money? Right. Then it completely shifts your mood and how you view things. So I think the language and just identity that we take for ourselves with each situation is so powerful. More so than the strategy, more so than any strategy. Because how many times, for the people who are listening, have you had all the strategies laid out for you? Steps 1 through 10, but you couldn't take that action. You couldn't quite get yourself to do it. And what was it due to? It's probably mindset. It is mindset.
Absolutely. Well, and you were very humble in your introduction, but as a successful real estate investor, you're an eye surgeon, you have this educational background that anyone would be, incredibly jealous of because of what you've achieved. It's so clear that, your mindset had to be present in addition to your intellect and your motivation and your actions to get to where you are. So thank you for sharing that. That's impressive. Doug, do you mind letting us know? It's how you alluded to it a little bit, having become your own mindset coach. Tell us a little bit more.
I want to start with 2 quotes that I think you could almost create an entire life philosophy over these 2 quotes almost.
Okay.
The first one is Carl Jung. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you'll call it fate. And between stimulus and response is our freedom to choose. It is our growth. So Viktor Frankl and Dr. Jung both give us some really good clues on, okay, what do we need to be focusing on? The first quote especially hits me like a freight train almost every time I read it, because it was so important in my journey. So to give you a little overview of why I had to become my own life coach. Unfortunately, and I'm not going to turn this into Dr. Phil, from age 0 to 7, the things that happen in 0 to 7 are very, very critical. And they stick with you. And for me, it was a terrible environment. And I'm not even going to go to the details. It doesn't even matter now. And again, Dr. Ben Hardy recently said to me, and he said in a book, Be Your Future Self Now, it didn't happen to me, it happened for me. Yes, thank you so much.
Shameless plug. Let's go.
Okay, shameless plug for Dr. Hardy. He deserved it in this work. So what happens is, as I'm trying to go through life, I'm trying to carry these, bad models, because you've got a model of how to behave in public, or how to respond to stress, or how to respond to other people. So my responses were either A, shutting down, or anger at the drop of a hat. So either I'm being too nice, or being just outright angry, irrational, just completely nuts behavior, right? And unfortunately, shame was a part of it too. So you're not being honest with people, you're not being direct in communication. So I'm smart enough to get myself into law school, and not smart enough to realize I really am not wired to be a practicing attorney. I am wired to be a salesman. I'm a salesman with a law degree, bottom line. That's who I am as a person, but I was not being self-honest with that. So, and then fates turn out, I end up inheriting a law firm. Like, here you go, free law firm to a good home. And I'm like, that's like, just like the worst possible case scenario that could happen for me. But of course you're like, oh, this is great, I'm gonna be great. And then, oh, shit. And so the internal fear starts kicking in. So you're like trying to push, grow. And then inside, the house inside is on fire. It's like, oh my God. And then so at the drop, like, and this is going on, right? So I'm trying to battle through it, and I'm like, oh shit. What am I gonna do? And I'm like, oh, I know, I'll partner with somebody. And out of desperation, and this is an important part about commercial real estate and partnering. It is a team sport. You must partner effectively in this game for the most part, I think. And I didn't partner effectively. I barely knew this person, had no discussion about vision, mission, shotgun wedding, because like inside I'm like, oh my God. And to her credit, she was really everything I wasn't. So in a lot of ways, it was a good partnership in certain ways. But it was a bad partnership in terms of value and how to grow. And so a lot of conflicts started to emerge early, because I just want to continue adding other law firms, like really grow the firm. And scaling a law firm, by the way, is a terrible idea. Just for the folks that are playing along at home. And that's what
I'm going to pause right there for a second too, because we're 15 minutes in, so we should let everybody know where these videos came from. Douglas, this is amazing sharing here, and I think that it's really great because you see a level of honesty that I just don't think is universal in different like training products and stuff like that. So like this, it really is. Well, Angel, how would you describe the summits? Because like all of these, the content that we go through each week, it all comes from the library of summit recordings. So Angel, can you say a few words about that?
No, absolutely. So I'm actually at an event right now. I'm not at home, so I'm in a completely different state from I do our summit virtual, and just like this restream, just like we're doing this live, and we're all in different places. Same thing with the summit, and so that's one of the cool things is that it doesn't matter where you are physically, you can absolutely get involved with this wherever you are. It doesn't matter, and so it's been really cool virtual summits. This one was from the 3 years, and March of 2020. Never dreamed that we would have just completed our 6th one. So, you know, it's amazing. We've got over 250 hours of content with the summits, and that's 250 hours you can learn from. So you need to get on our site, you need to subscribe, and you need to be a part of this because it is amazing. And I don't know how else to explain how amazing it is other than you have to experience it.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. And I'm going to drop the link in the comments to get the subscription to access all of this. But part of what's going on is I wanted to make sure that you guys saw the content that is in there. But I also want you to get the practice watching at 1.5 times speed so that you learn the real value of consuming. And you can grow so much faster if you're consuming content at a higher speed, because you also afford yourself more time to, you know, rewind and watch it again and all that kind of stuff. So Douglas, you've been talking on here. Anything come to mind you want to share with the audience?
Well, I think the main thing you can expect is raw. Sometimes the gurus have a tendency, not naming any names, David Lindahl, of selling the dream, but not mentioning one iota of what the brutal battle ahead. It's not easy. It's not fun at times, and sometimes it's downright painful. But if it doesn't hurt, it doesn't work. So the main thing is you're going to get the brutal, honest truth about what it takes to get there, and definitely rewarding in the long run. But you're also going to get a cold reality check in the process as well. So it just so you have an accurate picture of what's going to happen.
Awesome.
Well,
So Jason, where were you all this time? Were you indisposed? No, I'm not. What comments do you have so far? Anything come to mind? Or do you just want to roll? I don't know if he's looking for the mute button or whatever.
Yeah, Jason's muted.
Okay. So, all right, there you go. All right, let's continue. Let's keep rolling. And Angel, I know you'll pipe up when we get on here. So let's keep moving.
Well, I ended up in real estate eventually. Scaling real estate is a very good idea. But at the end of the day, I completely just eventually collapsed as an individual, and because of the not having the resources to deal with all the problems. So I'm good at I'm a salesman, so I love helping people. I love growing the firm, but the actual day in, day out paperwork and not being effective at delegation and all those things, it just eventually came to a head, and the partnership not working well, and everybody's just, it starts to degrade. And the big one for me is the communication skills were just not there. And so again, part of the mindset piece, I think, is also its close cousin is the communication piece. And so at the end of the day, and as my taking a slow journey of, okay, so back in 2010, I started like, I want to be a syndicator. I think that'd be awesome. That'd be great. But you have that massive failure just sitting on your chest and like an elephant sitting on your head. And so you don't like attack it. You don't go after it. You don't attack it. So you pull back. And then again, 2015, 16 rolls around. The same idea comes back. It's like, well, I really should do this. I really should. And you don't attack it because you haven't addressed the mindset. And so eventually I did. I'm like, I've got to do something more about this. I got to do something because I'm not really getting anywhere, and I need to do something about this. So eventually I'm like, okay, I love Tony Robbins. I love that stuff. And every time I hear it, I'm like, okay, that's good stuff. But at the end of the day, I do think it takes an actual practitioner that knows what they're doing. And that's where I finally got results. I finally said, and I'm also stubborn too. So I'm like, oh, I'll just read myself there. I'm going to read my way there.
Right.
And it didn't work. I mean, I literally wasted almost a decade by just trying to read myself there. So getting outside help, please, folks, if you have any serious trauma going on, NLP, hypnosis, therapy, please do it. Please, I beg you, just clean the house, because I promise you won't be sorry. Money well spent.
Very powerful. Very, very powerful.
Yeah, Amy, I just wanted to piggyback on the point that he just made about fear. I think that's so critical for all of us to hear, because I think that's what holds a lot of us back. And if you think about it, fear is really just an emotional state, right? It's our brain to keep us safe and to avoid pain. And how often, like, have we gotten afraid of something and we're concerned about something, we end up staying all night worrying about something, and all that concern actually didn't happen.
Dan, can you pause it?
And I like to,
I'm glad you did. Yeah, because I want to hop in too. Go for it.
Failure is only feedback. Failure is only feedback. Failure is only feedback. Okay.
Yeah, I really love that. And Jason, yeah, I got your message saying that you got your microphone situation set up there. The one that was coming through my mind was like when you're being confronted with strong emotions, like the ones surrounding failure. It's like if you recognize them and say, I've got these feelings, and you're like, so what? Like, you still have to do the thing, right? You know, it's like, give them their space. Let it, sit there and blah, 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 but just kind of just don't take it along for the ride. Say like, hey, you have to keep moving still.
It is so true. And the human mind is a distortion machine. And so it distorts in positive ways, but here's a condition which can be good. You can have really strong positive emotions, but when you're dealing with fear, sometimes it's an overwhelming, way outsized compared to what you're dealing with. And so getting things right-sized and saying, well, you know what, pull this back and say, well, yeah, I should listen to fear, because you don't want to just completely, it's irrational not to have fear. So it is there, but tamping it down enough to take action is the key component.
What I would say too, like one of the things you were talking about was the communication. Communication isn't just communication you have with others. Communication is your self-talk too. And so you have to make sure that not only are you communicating well with others, but how are you communicating with yourself? Because you can be brutally honest with yourself where you may not be brutally honest with others. So just kind of throwing that out there.
And sometimes that, like what you say in that self-talk, like you call it brutal honesty, but it's not. It really is shit talking yourself.
Right.
And so the thing is, like where I came from, I always thought that basically shit talking yourself in your inner monologue, I thought it was harmless, right? Because like I know what I mean, but yeah, it's definitely something that's enormous.
Your brain doesn't differentiate that, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, it still triggers like an emotional response. Yeah, exactly. If you using language poorly.
And Dan, one more key important point about this, and two, this is their beliefs are different in different levels, but the most important beliefs are ones that follow the sentence, I am X. And so when you're shit talking yourself, you're degrading whatever thing you're putting behind that. You're if it's a positive trait, you're throttling yourself by doing that. So that's really critical to get a handle on what follows I am.
I love it. And everybody is going to have to make sure you keep your eyes out for more of these REI Rocks reviews. Let's continue. We got Amy Silvis, who's totally awesome, moderating. And this is from the fall 2022 summit. And this is on mindset. So let's rock and roll.
My mind, like just recreational anxiety, right? Because failure is not possible if you don't define it that way. So if we just redefine what we see as failure and what we define as success, it could completely change that fear of failure.
I want to drop something in real quick there, Amy. I don't want to hog the panel,
Not at all.
but there is a presupposition of NLP that I think is one of the single greatest things on this point. Failure is only feedback.
I love that. I was just reading this morning at the recommendation of my mindset coach and high performance coach, Coach Trevor McGregor, the book that you mentioned, and talking about failure and contextualizing that and what a gift failure can be, and getting used to being in that space and reframing it exactly as you said. What meaning are you giving to that? Is it something that where you're just learning, and is it kind of a pathway actually to your goals, as opposed to seeing it as a setback or something like that? So wow, powerful stuff. Angel.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking Jason should probably be here as opposed to me.
Oh, come on down.
I don't know if he'll do it. I don't know what happened to the video. Maybe I forgot to tell him the time. Who knows? I'm really bad at figuring out the schedule and stuff and getting people on the live stuff. But his mindset, he had mindset changes way before I did. He did it before I did, and it took me probably a good 6 months longer than him. And there's still times when I want to back up and go do what we've already done because residential is easy. But it wasn't easy when I started it, and I think that I forget that part because the commercial multifamily stuff, it's hard. And there were plenty of times when I thought it was going to break me. And it was just, I think it came down to.
So did commercial real estate become easy in the last month?
No.
No. Weird, huh?
It's getting easier.
Yeah, easy. Yeah,
Well,
right.
no, it's not getting easier. We're just getting more used to the chaos that comes with it.
Yeah. It's figuring out which bits are the same and which bits, are
Dan,
just right?
it's like professional sport. The game isn't easier; they're just getting better.
There you go. I love it.
So that comes back to that the Ron quote where it's like, "Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better."
Yep, that's
And
right.
it was a favorite quote of mine, and then I started hating because I was like, "Why am I being such a jerk, telling people you're just not good enough?" But it's nothing about being good enough. It's about what experiences do you have to draw on that are making you better. So one of the things Jason told me, I guess a couple of weeks ago, he went to Houston, and seriously, it's almost comical now. Every time he leaves, something goes wrong, right? So we had a slab leak. A slab leak is not a small thing. But he and I are on the phone. He's like, "We sound way calmer. Like you're dealing with this so much better." And it's super funny because like during the burning, that's the period of 2 weeks when him and Julianne were totally out of cell phone range and internet range. Things were just burning on me, right? With the multifamily stuff, the property management company, it was just everything. Everything was burning down around me, and that was the hardest thing I've ever been through. And so with the slab leak, it's not this big of a deal because I call a plumber, they send somebody out, they fix it, they help us hop along until they can actually fix it for real. And I was able to take care of it. Whereas I feel like with the multifamily stuff, it was so out of my control. But I still think going through that made me stronger, and it made it to where I had better muscles to deal with the slab leak.
I completely agree. And think about this. I mean, you were pushed so far, your threshold went way out, and now anything else is really tame comparatively. It's like, oh man, compared to that, this is easy street.
Jason, do you want to kind of chime in because you're the one that actually noticed it in me? I don't notice it.
Well, no. When I was talking to you when I was at Philmont, like the first and last day I was there, I mean, you were crying and yelling at me and cussing me and then being short and saying you had to go and take care of stuff. And I couldn't do anything. But then when I was in Houston talking to you, it was like you're actually civil and we could carry on a discussion. And I think that helped too because you were calm enough to realize what needed to get done and not go into panic overwhelm mode. Because people don't think straight when they're panicked and overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And let me add to that, folks. If you haven't read Never Split the Difference and the Power of Labeling Someone when they're in that state, please, I can't recommend it higher. Labeling someone's emotion when they're in that state is really important. If you can engage and start talking to them about what their emotional state is, brings them way down.
No, it basically the whole calm down thing, and you're in panic, overwhelm mode. I would have hung up on his ass.
Well, no, what he was saying, it sounds like you're frustrated, and then you start saying, "Yes, I'm really frustrated." It really feels like you feel cornered. Yes, I'm really cornered, and then eventually, by you labeling their internal state, it just has an effect of typically bringing someone more into a resourceful state.
Yeah, I also heard that this works pretty well. Is you just yell at them to calm down repeatedly until they calm down.
Yeah, it
Will you
works with
calm down?
languages too. You know, if you don't understand English, you just yell louder,
Yeah.
and then suddenly they understand English. That's why it's so
And
international.
talk
you know.
slower too sometimes, but
That's right.
Talking
louder definitely.
slower is much more useful, and
And-
yelling, it's I was.
And they literally say the late night DJ voice. You're still listening to 101 smooth jazz. And so when you bring down your state, it has a calming effect also. Your voice has a calming effect also.
Excellent, excellent. And then they go, yeah, right. So, but we're coming up on half past the hour, and when Angel was speaking, I wasn't actually ignoring her. I was typing out this comment, which is I hit enter, and there it is right there. You can actually hang out with us. We really only want you to join if you are a commercial real estate syndicator, operator, buyer, seller, something like that. But we have the Marvelous Mondays at noon Eastern, and the link is in the chat, and it's theacademypresents.com/meetup link. You can register that way. Who wants to say a thing or two about what those Marvelous Mondays are all about?
Well, I would just add in there, like, I have friends at mortgage. Lots of people come to the Marvelous Mondays that aren't strictly commercial. So don't feel bound by that, because it's just a great time. And one of the other things I've been telling people even at this event is real estate. Everybody knows real estate's what you do. You don't have to talk real estate to build a relationship. You can talk about their kids. You can talk about your kids. If they don't have, you can talk about anything. You can talk about their hobbies. Anything to build that relationship, not have to be real estate.
And if I could hop in here, a certain person comes to mind when I'm saying this. Do not go in trying to sell. Please do not be the LinkedIn spammer that shows, hey, thanks for connecting. Hey, buy my service. It is very off-putting. So I can't recommend enough. Come in with an open mind and an open heart of saying, hey, I want to connect with people. I want to learn them. And you'll get to the business part eventually. Trust me. Don't worry. It always comes up. But please lead with connection. I can't tell you how important that is and what a difference it'll make for you. And I just think it's really important to realize that.
So don't walk in and who wants a free valuation? It's free. Thank you, Ping Jun.
Hey, I sell debt. Do you want my debt? I sell debt. Oh no, I know you were talking, Dan, but I sell debt.
Yo, dog, I heard you like debt, so we got some debt for your debt, so you can debt while you debt. Yeah. LinkedIn for the win. But anyway, yeah, if you want to hear more stupid jokes like that, make sure that you come on Mondays at 12 Eastern. And back to our regular scheduled program. This is the REI Rocks Review, which is every Friday live stream on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. And we'll try and get it on some more stuff in the future here. But we watch videos from the Library of Summits. This one here is a panel discussion, and we watch it at 1.5 times speed, and we pause it whenever there's something that is really poignant for right now. So that's what we're doing. Just go ahead and tell me to pause it if we need to, and put some stuff in the chat. If you also have some questions, we're monitoring it live, so we'll know if you post some stuff. Rock and roll.
The other options. And so I kept, like, especially I think like those 2 weeks when Jason and Julianne were not around. And I guess I did have another option. I didn't have to do it. I could have just stayed in bed and slept. And just, I guess I melted away to nothing here in my bed. I don't know. Oh, Frank, you had me. Oh. So, but yeah, he is the one that called and taught me off the ledge a couple times too. But it was realizing, or maybe not realizing even in that moment, but I didn't give myself any other options other than to do it. Whereas I think before I probably would have just laid in bed and not done anything. And so I don't know how that fits other than
big time it does. Big time.
Yeah, Doug, elaborate on that.
It's what we call in the professional NLP circles of coaching a stuck state. You're getting in a stuck state. So that's most of the problems that people have mindset-wise are a somehow stuck state. So you've got yourself in a loop, in a mindset loop that you have to break and map over to a resources state, saying, well, I'm a successful, and this one's huge, and I'm glad we got to this point. The words that follow I am are almost the most important things you could say to yourself. So I am a resourceful person, or my friend Eddie, my name is Eddie, I can do anything, is what follows his I am. And so it's like whatever follows I am. So like when you start to find yourself in an adverse condition like that, then you have to just kick yourself into that mindset. And I think it does take time to really like it's like the neural. I'm not a huge neuroscience guy, but literally by repetition, you bind the neural synapses together. And so the more you say, I am resourceful, I am creative, I am resourceful in the face of adversity, the more you loop that in your brain will be like, wait a minute, I'm shutting down here. That's not me. I don't do that. And then you move into like, well, who can I call? What can I do? What are my options? And you start thinking in terms of problem state, the solution state type solutions and resource state.
Do you pause it, Dan?
Pause it. Look who's
We
here.
got Jason on the stage now. Yes.
Coming on.
Mr. Phil?
All right.
So, Doug, regarding what you were just saying, so do affirmations really work?
I believe they do, and I have a confession to make. It's one of the resources and I don't use enough, and I noticed that lately. I'm like, I read Think and Grow Rich like a decade ago, basically. Why didn't I use that part? And also a huge plug for Think and Grow Rich. But auto-suggestion, again, is like you repeat that to yourself enough. And again, all of our beliefs, literally all of them. And I don't know if you guys remember that childhood tool. It was the Etch-a-Sketch where you could like make little figures and creatures, and then you could shake it and then start all over again. Beliefs are like that. It's hard to conceive that, but literally all of our beliefs are malleable like that. So if you want to take control of what belief set you have, that auto-suggestion is an excellent one. And I don't know if you guys remember the quote. The conscious level and the unconscious level, what's down here is subsurface. By doing auto-suggestion, you're mining down here in the subterranean world, and you're really building yourself a better machine, if you will. I love Terminator, and so basically you get to reprogram your own Terminator by using auto-suggestion and affirmations.
Awesome. So, any more questions there, or?
One of the things, yeah, I have something. Panel. He's talking about like being able to like come up with alternatives. I am flying off the handle, which is what Jason's saying when I'm like, but even beyond that, I can't think of solutions when I am flying off the edge. And so in the recording, it says, oh yeah, Frank has me. So Frank is a friend of mine. He's on our GP team. He was also a middle school teacher. That was one of the ways we bonded, really, was we're both middle school teachers. But when I was calling him, I'm like, I just walked out of the unit. Yeah. There's trash 1.5 feet deep, and I mean, I've been in real estate. I grew up with it with my grandparents. Jason and I have been in residential for 20 years. No, up until that moment, I had never seen anything like that. And it was really hard mentally, emotionally for me. And I couldn't think of alternatives. I couldn't think of anything. And so this is another piece of that mindset part where you have to be able to calm down enough to think of alternatives. And so during burning, I couldn't think of alternatives because I felt like everything was happening to me, not for me, to me. I felt such a victim, and it was really, really difficult. And so Jason wouldn't have been able to get me to think of alternatives because I was not in the right state of mind.
So it's really all about teams in that case, which is just making sure that everybody knows, like what's likely to happen. It's so like, we all end up finessing each other, like in this small number of months. You've seen how like Jason already would be definitely a passable IT manager, just because it's like, I'm going like, well, sometimes it's like, it's not going to make sense for me to be the guy, or maybe I'll be out for a week or something like that. And we need to fix something. So it's better to have overlap in every single way, including it's just like, if there's only just one thing you can remember when you're panicking is to hit the panic button. If that's the only thing you have to, get through, then you're going to have a much better time. Because, it's like when the shit hits the fan, like, what does it look like? Oh, it's not actually that bad because I've got a team who's got this mentally thought out. It's like, okay, so this will happen, then that'll happen, that happen. If this fails, this will be blah, 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 blah. And it's really good. Is that how you look at situations, Jason?
Yeah, that's how Jason looks at it. But here was the other thing is like, Our coaches were all out of pocket. Team members were out of pocket. I was seriously, and it's just because it was like there wasn't anybody I could talk to, and I was too scared to call.
Yeah, we're having some
Our
pretty
syndication
bad
coach.
connection issues here, Angel. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you guys feel the same way. But yeah. So I think we have to get continuing on the video. Unless Jason, do you have anything else you want to add?
So, like one of my last phone calls when I was about to hit the trail was to Frank to help as much as he could help Angel. And I mean, that's what I did. I reached out to a team member because I knew I wouldn't be able to.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it just can't be a surprise, right? You know, if it's a surprise, that's when you're going to run into trouble. But it's like, okay, well, this was a distinct possibility from the beginning. We've got a plan in place. You know, it's like it shouldn't be, you know, do or die based on just one person.
And Dan, if I could, I'd like to give a plug for Tim Ferriss and his fear setting exercise.
Mhm.
What he did, and from the Stoicism he studied, he literally said, "What if you write down your fears and put them on paper, and then once you get it on the paper, it takes almost by definition, it starts to take the sting out of it. So like when you start saying, well, what could go wrong before this next event, if you have like a current change in your current setup, or you know some resource, some of the team members are out of pocket, for example, what would happen and what's the worst case scenario? And so by pre-planning disaster, you get a chance to actually pre-develop. And again, it's great because you're in a resourceful state at that point before anything goes wrong. So you can literally start thinking in terms of ahead of time. What would we do, and what could break this next opportunity and really make it as bad as possible? And what would I do to respond?
I love it. Yeah, taking the emotional and putting it into something rational so you can consider it.
Bow tie. I was going to chime in, but Jason, I think I want to hear from you if you have anything to add.
no, I was actually tending to kids, so I missed part of it.
Oh, you're good. We were just talking about a time, when we had Angel, we had a pivotal kind of, maybe a trough in life and how we utilize mindset and what that all looks like. If you want to share, if not, you can get settled in and I can share something and whatever you want to do.
Oh, my daughter's over here saying Philmont. So she had a pivotal shift at Philmont when I was with her. You want to talk about it? She had some like ankle issues the whole time, and she just at first really thought it was like miserable, and all her friends were like miserable. And it's like from right off the get-go, I was like, Julianne, you're just gonna have to embrace this suck. You knew it was gonna suck going in. It's sucking now. You knew it was gonna happen. So just enjoy it because despite the suck, and she was able to finish. Some of her friends did not. So with Philmont, we've talked about some in the summit before, but if y'all don't know, it's a high adventure camp, Boy Scouts in New Mexico mountains. We trekked 60 plus miles over 12 days, carrying 50-pound packs. I was with a troop of girls. I was the only guy, and they were all ages 14 to 16. So definitely a hard adventure for girls who've never actually been backpacking before. So
yeah, but talk about embracing the suck. I think that's really cool. Life isn't going to always be amazing, right? So how are you going to train yourself, and what experiences are you intentionally going to expose yourself to make yourself that much better? By the way, this is not beer, this is iced tea. I just realized on camera this looks like beer, so apologies there.
She's way too sensitive, man.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and drink your beer on camera.
Myself a little bit. I was born with cystic fibrosis, and if you're not familiar with what that is, it's a genetic disease that kind of slowly destroys the lungs over time. When I was born in 1981, I'm 41. You can see my grays and my wrinkles, and I wear them proudly. I was supposed to be maybe 16 or 18 years old at the full extent of my lifetime. That was kind of what was the prognosis. And I, of course, stand on the shoulders of giants and absolutely credit so many people with helping me get here to be 41 years old and in incredible health. But, I share the stories, often about the peaks and valleys of, the fear, as Dr. Nancy mentioned, of having a chronic illness that's really expensive and depends on health insurance, and where I often couldn't trade my time for money because I was sick in the hospital for weeks and weeks on end, barely able to hold on to a W-2. But that why, the mindset of why and what you want to achieve can be so powerful. And for me, and this kind of transitions into my next question for you all, holding that why in front of you to motivate yourself, and even if it's above and beyond just yourself, my husband and I are desperate to help children in inner city Los Angeles have the resources for after school programs and to, because they're underserved. And yes, we want to have an abundant and financially free life ourselves as well. But it's so much, it is additionally motivating to know that our calling is really to contribute to amazing children and our country's future. So let's go in reverse. Well, let's go in the same order. Definitely, Nancy, we haven't heard from you, my friend. Can we hear a little bit more about your why and how that plays into mindset?
Yeah, I think, just to start off, I think all of us is born with a hunger to do more and be more. We constantly want to stretch ourselves, but as we said, sometimes that fear pushes back to our comfort zone. But I think when you have a larger why and a larger mission, it pulls you forward a lot further and a lot easier than if you were to push something, right? It's always easier to pull something than to try to push something. So that force is a lot easier. So what I'm trying to say with this, when you have a larger why, when you encounter those tough times, it keeps you going. It keeps you motivated towards that goal. Right. For me, there's a couple of whys. One is my family and my 2 little girls who are 5 and 3. I want them just to develop this abundant mindset and all the things that I'm starting to unlearn and relearn as an adult. And then the second is, as an eye surgeon, one of the causes that I am so passionate about is preventable blindness, because some of you may or may not know, most people do not know, 4 out of 5 people in the world are unnecessarily blind. And that could be as simple as a $25 cataract surgery or a pair, of glasses that are just a couple of dollars, or even medicines that are 10 cents. So that's a huge mission of mine. That's why I do real estate and donate to this cause because of that. So that's my huge why. And I encourage everyone on here to kind of figure out why you're doing the things that you're doing, because it will just motivate you so much more and get you through those obstacles that are inevitably going to come along.
Yeah, thinking about negotiating an LOI or your lender coming back with lower proceeds and putting that in the context of some people can't see because they didn't get a $25 surgery. I can imagine how motivating and kind of contextualizing the difficult times what that could do. So wow, that's powerful. Doug.
My selfish why is I want to be able to afford to fly my own airplane, because I love, you have no idea, since the age of 4 I've been up in small airplanes, and the idea of having my own airplane. But that was not really that motivational. I've had that goal since as long as I can remember. The one that I think I really care more about, and I think is really actually more motivational, especially in California, there is unnecessarily enraging homelessness right now. And so affordable housing in California, like basically a transit-oriented development over main arterial streets, waiting in and fighting a war, and Amy can attest to this, fighting a war that it takes to get that built in California is something I'm dedicated to in the long run of making an actual difference in the market. And it's just, it's intellectually stupid that we're not already doing it. But I guess, and I'm going to have to be, frankly, willing to upset almost everyone in doing the process. But I'm willing to fight that fight. And again, part of adversity is it strengthens you. So if I haven't already been broken, probably not going to happen, right? Because everything that's thrown at me from start has been designed to break me. And guess what? That's the beauty of adversity. It shows you that you are unbreakable. And therefore, there's a higher calling in that. And like, well, I'm going to wade into something that's really, really tough because, hey, I've been doing that all day long and twice on Sunday already. So that's what my big why is too. Affordable housing in California really excites me, and it's like, okay. And my friend like CB, I don't know if you guys know CB or not. She's like, why are you going to do that to yourself? And I'm like, well, just gotta do it.
Yeah. And how does that play into when you're having tough times, as in this business? I mean, the answer's probably obvious, but I'd love for you to just give a few extra sentences, if you would, about how that greater why really motivates you.
I think for me, it makes the peanut gallery, so to speak, of the internal peanut gallery too, right? The self-criticisms and the self-doubt, and then the external stuff you go from family and friends and whatnot. It becomes irrelevant because once you have a mission, it's like, well, I'm just on my mission. And I like to say, my life's calling is not a conference call, y'all. My life's calling is spiritually divine, and again, I'm not gonna get up here and preach the good word, but I will say universal calling is really truly a thing for me, and it's like once you have that universal calling, it's between you and your spiritual center. So that's for me. It's just like, well, I'm just doing what I'm here to do. Then the dialogue doesn't matter.
Incredible. Drown out those negative forces because you're on that mission. You're laser focused. Right. Amazing. Angel / Jason. I don't know who to call on, but whoever.
Well, ours is combined, right? So Jason, you started looking into multifamily, what, 2017?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So our son would have been 7, and our son was born with a really rare genetic condition called Duke 15Q. It didn't even have a cute name, like cancer or something, because there's so few. There were 742 cases in the world when he was diagnosed.
Cancer's got a cute name now. Okay.
And some of his therapies weren't even covered by the insurance that Jason had. And so at that point, we had gotten on, we were a part of the MDCP program, which was the Medically Dependent Children's Program, and that's for children with disabilities. But we eventually wound up out of that one. I can't remember, or we hadn't got into it yet. That's what it was. So we were in another program where you basically could buy into Medicaid, but we still had to stay below a certain income threshold. And we had been doing that for a while. And then one day, Jason and I just crunched the numbers, and it was like, wait a second, how much are we really saving by having Anson on Medicaid? And it was like $45,000, wasn't it, Jason?
No, it was less than that. It was like 7,000 or something.
Was it really? I felt like it was so much.
No, it was a max out of pocket, basically.
Yeah.
It was before ABA.
Yeah. Okay, so you're right. But it was like, we're making ourselves, we're limiting what we can earn for not very much money.
Oh.
And so we crunched those numbers, and it was like, well, I got a master's degree. I can earn more than that working from home teaching agile. So it was like, it was just an aha moment.
Incredible.
But it was also pushed us further into, let's do this multifamily thing. Let's scale up, because you can go one of two directions when you've got a special needs child that has high medical needs. You can remain in poverty and get all the state services, or you can go the other direction and create your own services, create your own.
I actually delayed pausing for an extra 4 minutes. I'm planning actually to go through this whole video, as long as Jason's game for sticking around with me. I don't know what your schedule is, Douglas and Angel. I know you're at a live event here, but speaking of having expenses in your life, that's one thing that I always push Jason and Angel to talk about. That's part of the reason for this very show, is to have a legitimate way to show you what they got going on. And at 1:45 each time, we're supposed to do a plug for Second Set of Eyes. And so, Jason, you got your background on. I'm going to get my cursor over here so I can get our faces a bit bigger here. There we go. So I think it's this one. Yeah, there we go. So what's when you offer underwriting services, I think the biggest thing I saw from how you structure that service is you separate it in different levels of detail that actually do take different numbers of hours of time. And I think that's important to emphasize, that it's not just, like zip, zip, and then it's done. There's a lot of detail and meticulousness involved in it. Do you want to say a couple words about what you do as an underwriter, or why or who is an ideal person to contact you in the context of underwriting?
Yeah, so I can look at underwriting many different levels. We have some sheet. I don't know what the link is, or if we even have a link for it. But like the base level is, you have underwriting. You don't know if it's good or not. You can send it to me. I can go through it. I'm experienced with many different models. I can go in and break it down, understand what all the assumptions are that you may or may not know are being made, and I can just outline them for you. Say, hey, look, this is what I think, and this are assumptions that you're making. Are you sure you want to make them? Above that, I can plug it into my model as well and compare and see if what I'm getting is the same or better or worse than what you're predicting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And an example of an assumption that somebody might make would be, all right, so in these numbers, they're assuming that start to finish, rehabbing this one apartment unit, it'll be done in like 1 month, and then it'll be rented out the month after that. And that's not really a safe assumption, in the sense of, like sometimes in some markets, it'll take 2 months before it gets rented out, or you'll have some sort of statistics outside of that. Is that an example
Well,
of
yeah,
something?
and also a lot of models don't even account for that. They just say, all right, we're going to raise the rents up to this once, and that's assuming that all those units are renovated and up to market level on day one, and it's
Right.
not.
Right.
If you needed a model that will show you, say, hey, it's going to take this long to get there, like 48 months or something, my model can handle that, and it starts accounting for the income at month 48 versus month 1. That's 4 years of income that you think you're having and you're not going to have.
Right.
That's
Right.
just one of the things.
Well, and I'd like to say something. Yeah, I'd like to say something here too. Hopefully my but I was talking to somebody just yesterday who was trying to tell me he was this amazing underwriter, and I'm like, really? Did you code your own spreadsheet? Did you write your own macros? Because that's something Jason does. When he's saying it's his model, it's literally create a custom spreadsheet and a custom underwriting program for you based on your parameters. Guess what? He can do that. He's not using somebody else's program. It's his program. So yes, he is a better underwriter than you, sir.
Yeah, I love how you put that. That is just totally bang on, because like so many people, like they go, well, I'm good at learning, so I took a course And the guy who taught all of us, they gave us this calculator, and I'm really good at filling in the fields. You know, like when I put it that way, it's not really, you know, that doesn't calm you that much. Whereas, you know, Jason, your PhD was in chemical engineering. So the thing I like to emphasize to people to put that into context, because, like, you know, you say chemical engineering, it's like, what does that mean? Well, engineering is math, 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 and more math. And when you're talking about math to describe nature, it's math that really doesn't want to reveal itself, okay? Because it acts really, really funny, like 9 times out of 10 at least. Whereas when you're underwriting, it's a lot more straightforward. But, you know, like this is kind of a walk in the park for Jason, which is why I have so much confidence in him. Like, you know, Doug, you've probably heard me say about 4 times, I'm used to being Spock in an organization, and this is taking some getting used to. But I'm taking it, right?
Well, another thing about being an engineer is it's like everything is like Spock logical. And if you just think about things logically and you have some sense of logic, you can write your own stuff, write your own macros, code, scripts, whatever. And so that's what I
Yes.
do. I mean, that definitely engineer mind doing it.
That's not normal. That's not normal.
Yeah,
Yes,
I would like to add, Dan, the mindset of where Jason's background comes into play that is so unique from outside the field is generally people are thinking in terms of linear in just like things going in a straight line. He's thinking in terms of probabilities and in a range of outcomes. That's a completely different model and more realistic, right? How many variables are we modeling currently, right? Most people are modeling a couple of variables within the spreadsheet. He's basically capturing a lot of the crazy things that go around your pro forma that aren't really modeled normally.
Yep, that's really awesome. So let's keep going. I don't know if either of you, we're 4 minutes from the hour. If either of you have to bail, thanks for joining us. I guess I guess you did get a little bit of a chance. Douglas, what's the best way to reach out to you? I should mention to everybody in the camera that the comments is the best way. Like anything we've mentioned that you're like, hey, I want to know more about that. Just comment on it and we'll be able to hit that right after this. But Douglas, is LinkedIn the best way to reach you? Or
yes, most definitely. And Real Estate Macro Podcast on YouTube, and please check that out. That's my shameless plug. But also where we talk about those things that are Jason's trying to capture for your model in what he's working on. We talk about those risks that you're facing in turbulent times, and even when things are tranquil. That's a bad sign when things feel tranquil, because there might be something in the weeds looking to get you. So I think really that's what I really look forward to talking with folks and unpacking on the podcast, and another plug for Jason's incredible service. And yes, LinkedIn is definitely the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. So now what I'm going to try and do, because I think it will improve what you guys end up seeing. And I'm going to remember to share my audio this time. Now we got a normal proportion screen.
Like create your own outfit, really. And that was when we started thinking, you know, our why is Anson and the girls. And we don't ever want our girls to have to worry about anything more than just loving their brother. And so we have a special needs trust for him, and there's other trust for the girls. But we are making sure that we're setting aside funds and making enough in the real estate investing space so that there will be enough money in that trust for him, so that all the girls ever have to do is love their brother. They don't have to worry about where they're going to come up with the $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year for just a few therapies. So that's our why.
I love it. Why don't Angel, you and I? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Also, there's only one real organization in the States, and I have like a sister organization overseas that researches what Anson has. And so ultimately what we want to do is be a huge benefactor to that group, and also create an endowment for siblings of kids with it so they can go to colleges and stuff like that. Because when you have a kid like that, they are sapping all your resources, and so the siblings don't get any benefits. They don't get either social securities or I can't even think.
And it's even before any of that, because our girls don't get to do a bunch of extracurricular activities.
Yeah. And even traveling is hard because we can't go anywhere with him. He can't fly in an airplane, so we have to drive everywhere. So I mean, that helps Angel because she's afraid of flying until yesterday or the day before. But
He's on a private plane with Doug. That's private plane.
That's right.
But no, the thing is you wind up with a Y that's super big, right?
Yes.
So sometimes it's so big that it's like larger than you can focus on for it to keep you going. And so you kind of have to break it up into things like, for me, it was putting in my head, I just want the girls, all I want them to ever have to worry about is loving their brother. And that makes it a much easier why to comprehend and to keep propelling you forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
and one of my selfish whys is getting out of my W-2 and not needing to go back. So I was terminated June 30th of this year. I was let go from my company, and I wasn't stressed about having to find anything else. So we are already planning on transitioning. So it just put a timeline on it. So
Sometimes God, the universe, your higher power gives you that little shove, huh? It's amazing how that can work sometimes. Oh yeah, Coach T said congratulations on the W-2 exit. That is, yeah, I'm sure many people resonate with that. Well, I'm sure many people listening resonate with these giant whys, right? I think we all have something on our heart that maybe seems super big, and we're really understanding, would love for folks to understand how realistic can be such a vehicle there with the right mindset to get us to make the difference in the world. Yeah, our own lives as well, but of course the lives of others. I think that's incredible. I would love to talk a little bit more about habits, because I think we can all attest to the fact that mindset isn't just, a light switch that one day you've got the right mindset and oh, you're set for life. How amazing. It is a constant, right? It is a journey. It's a constant reminder, repetition, practice. And yeah, I would love to, let's start off with Dr. Nancy again, and then we'll just go around the horn again. Do you mind sharing some of your practices? What helps you keep your mindset where it needs to be?
Well, there's so many things, but I'll share a couple. One huge one is just gratitude. First thing out of bed, before my foot hits the floor, is just what am I grateful for? And usually I cheat, because usually it's my husband and my children are number 1 and 2, and then fresh air or something is number 3 or something else. But just putting yourself in that state of gratitude, it eliminates all that worry, that fear that we often wake up with, right? We worry about the same things that we worried about 2 days ago. The other thing I would say is just really putting myself first in the morning, the first thing before anything else. So I don't touch the phone or any computer emails for the first hour of when I get up. And it's really just exercising, getting my body in the right state, and then prayer or journaling to get my mind in the right state so that I can start the day off. And I'm not derailed by things that come my way, because I feel like I'm in control of my day. And no matter what comes, I'm not reacting to it. I'm purposefully, taking action to address it, but it's not dictating how the rest of my day goes. So those are just a couple of things. There's many more, but
yeah. So powerful. And as I'm just mentioning this because some folks, I just recently learned this, so I'm excited to share. Our subconscious is much more programmable and influenceable, if that's a word, easily influenced because of the state our brainwaves are in. Thank you, Dr. Joe Dispenza, where I learned that from Coach T. First thing in the morning. So if we're doing these habits of gratitude, of visualization, of affirmations, exercise, all of these things, while our brain is still in these, where our subconscious is a little bit more susceptible, that can really set us up for quite an incredible day. So, Doug, I have a feeling you've got something to stack on that, and I'm excited to hear.
I do actually. I've actually found a way to leverage exactly that effect that you're talking about. One of the things I love is meditation with brainwave activity. So you can take the brainwaves you're having right as you're waking up, that state between awake and asleep. You can get a nice, really deep, relaxing meditation. If you're starting to get stressed out, you can always say, you know what, this day is really not going great. I'm going to take about 5-10 minutes to reset and go meditate the brainwave activity and get in a little deeper state. Also, when you're looking for a learning period, or you want to really work on something and go to a higher creative state, you also can get into that brainwave activity. I have submitted finally to the 5 a.m. habit. It's not my nature. I am a night owl by nature. I read until 2 o'clock in the morning on vacation, but the 5 a.m. habit is really amazing. I have to submit and say, okay, it's great. Not my nature, but you can do anything if you set your mind to it.
It's just hitting me as kind of amazing how in even such a short time as 1 month, the number of claims about, oh, well, these are the changes now. And we're all going like, oh, so how's that going? Right. So I don't know. Is that something anybody wants to jump in on? Like, how what's our average for keeping these? We still working in progress.
Yeah, with me, the 5 a.m. habit is still going pretty well. However, I do see a little cracks in the habit a little bit. So I'm really trying to rededicate to that. It is really, really incredible though, and I do see the early start is just it's been such a great thing. So even if it happens to be 7 on one day and you sleep in a little bit, it's not the end of the world. But I still feel like the 5 a.m. habit is worth seeking, and it's just, again, just sticking with it and being committed to it, and admitting when I fall down that it's okay. You're not. It's not the end of the world. You'll be all right.
Yeah, it's one of the habits of success, right? If you have to, set great goals so that, even if you miss, it's like, well, at least you're improving, right? So I think that's one of the biggest differences. Well, Douglas, you and I, we had a pretty in-depth conversation about that exact thing, about just pushing yourself. and just like the biggest one is that I think to succeed in this day and age, especially as an entrepreneur, you have to, get rid of like just about every habit you probably had, that you hold near and dear. But, everybody who I've seen come out of it successfully, is so happy they did. So like, how else do you say it? Right.
Well, and I couldn't agree more. And one of the things that I'm starting to like realize, and again, I talked about my passion for airplanes, right? But I think what's more important, and I've heard other people talk about this, and you kind of don't really, it's kind of like a glancing blow here and there. This the spirituality or the Tao of entrepreneurship, the person you become is literally the ultimate reward, because you really are in such a huge growth and a mindset control thing where you literally elevate who you are onto a different plane in a metaphysical sense. And it's really kind of the X factor, law of attraction stuff in the kind of the woo woo sense, but it really is true when you think about how much change by forcing yourself into becoming a better person. Just by nature, you go to a different level.
You look like you got something there, Jason.
I was just thinking, my habits since this filming have not been kept up as well as they should have been.
Well, you got more on the go though, so.
But one thing I was thinking though was, what is it? What got me here is not gonna get me there, or however it goes. Going back to, you need to change your habits. And I think a large part of it is the habits you had before, like your mindset journey change. Wonder what those habits look like versus what you have now. Even if you falter on your 5 a.m. one, or getting up and reading every morning, you're still a whole lot better off than you were 3 years ago before you even started any of this, or 10 years ago. So
Yeah,
it is a journey. It takes time. You can't just do it overnight, and you just have to learn to accept that. But you are continuously improving. So
right. So I think the skill you're describing, though, and it's particularly huge in relationships. It's I call it keeping the eye on the ball. Right. So like every time you are in a potential like a disagreement, fight or whatever, if you're keeping the eye on the ball, then you're realizing that this relationship is more important than being correct. So like that's what comes to my mind, is keeping the eye on the ball. Angel, do you want to see if your connectivity is going to cooperate? You're muted. There we go.
I'm probably gonna have to sit it out. The connection is, I keep getting spinny wheels.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, let's. Thanks for the spinny wheel contribution. That's pretty cool. All right. Let's get this video on here. So I need to hit that one again, and then we continue right here. This is for the REI Rocks review. What's up, Jason? Oh no, that was a bottle opening. Okay.
And so getting up at 5 is really a huge productivity booster. And again, super love the journaling, and then really trying to be more consistent about exercise. I still think that's so critical. And then that last one, I have to admit, it's not quite there yet. Diet is the next frontier. Not doing super great yet. But for sure, the 5 a.m. habit, the meditation. Oh, and I must make a plug for Stoicism. Stoicism is also another way of getting there with how you respond to things. So you start to get the Stoic mindset of like, well, I don't control very much anyway. So when something adverse happens, it's like, well, did I really control it anyway? So getting back to that concept of staying in a more a neutral state, slightly positive is what you're going for. And I think the misconception, or the conception I had as well, I need to be happy most of the time. I need to be really, I need to be, I don't think that's realistic. I think where you need to look for is just slightly above neutral to slightly positive, and staying in the middle is really where you want to be.
And so that's like, you're talking there in terms of like sustainability. But like if you add that to when you're in your personal branding and building your social media presence, I think that becomes way more important. It's like if you are doing fake energy all the time that you can't keep up, you're going to have a bad time.
I could not agree more. And I think the marketplace is so cynical generally now that they can smell the BS 1,000 yards away, a mile away, no, literally a galaxy away. They smell the BS. They're like, hey, sure, I might deal with you because I need what you're selling, but it's not because I like you. It's because I need you. But if you want true connection with your marketplace, authenticity is really the way to go. Thank you, James Altucher, by the way, for proving that point to me.
Awesome.
That's just my evolution of what I should be like on a day-to-day basis, and so that's what I'm shooting for.
Very cool. Thank you. I haven't heard that before. That's really interesting. Angel or Jason? Habits, mindset habits. I know you have some.
Okay, so I'll let Jason go first, and then I'll go.
So when I was actually at my W-2, I had better habits than I do now. It's because it was like more structured. I'd have like a lunch hour where I can go and walk for an hour or whatever. Now I take lunch whenever I think about it, sometimes like 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon, and getting bogged down with meetings, and actually seem a whole lot busier now than when I had a W-2. And hopefully after the summit, I'm going to start incorporating exercising again into my day. But I do get up every morning and I still get like fully dressed like I'm going to work.
Nice.
So that I'm in the mentality of, hey, I'm working. I'm not just going to lounge around in my pajamas and binge on Netflix all day. So I think that's a big one. And then also try to read some in the morning before I start actually doing work. I do pick up my phone and answer emails first thing though.
I'm guilty of that too. I'm such a doer. I'm so excited to get to work and get stuff done. So yeah, that's one of my biggest challenges is giving myself some space to get all of these practices in. So I'm with you, Jason. We can align and form a support group there.
Well, and I'm not very good at habits. I'm just not. And so if you look at me over the past 2 years, you'll be like, wait a second, that Marvelous Mondays thing, it happens every single Monday. And yeah, it does. And that's not a habit per se. That was a commitment I made. And so I don't necessarily call them habits. I think of them as commitments. And so I know that on Monday, I'm going to hold a Marvelous Monday meetup every single Monday, holiday, birthday, traveling, doesn't matter. I missed one because I was on the road with a group of girls going to summer camp. Aaron Goins ran the meeting. I did show up. I was there for a little bit, but it's, I don't know that it's a habit thing, but it's just a commitment thing that I make to myself because there were plenty of mornings when I didn't want to do it. I was tired. I was unhappy. I was probably depressed. And so it was really awesome that my green screen is right here behind me and I can just pull down my green screen, sit up in bed, grab my computer and start a meeting.
Yeah.
That was one of the beautiful things about this virtual landscape too, is that people only care about you from the waist up.
This is mullet.
They can't tell how many days you've been using the dry shampoo. So that's, but it wasn't so much that I thought of it as a habit, so much as I thought of it as I committed to this. And that's why I'm going to do this.
But the two kind of go hand in hand, Angel, if you think about it, right? A lot of habits is not because you feel like it. Like there's many days that I don't feel like getting up either. But once you make that commitment, it becomes a habit. And for those of you who have read James Clear, Atomic Habits, he kind of, love to. He kind of goes over that concept. It's not like these huge leaps that we have to take. It's just those small incremental 1% shifts that over time you see the exponential growth. So, and I feel like that's been true in my life. It's not like these huge jumps. It's like these small habits that you form that maybe 5-10 years down the line or sooner, you see what results you can get from it.
And Nancy, I know leverage off of that. That's exactly what I did to get back into exercise. Because and guys are bad about this. Hey, back when I could go 3 miles and I could really crush it, and the ego kicks it. Man, that ego messes with you. I'm going to crush it. And so what James is talking about, and I think it really worked for me, is first consistency, then volume. First consistency, then volume. So get consistent first, and then worry about volume up. And that was very effective in the exercise realm for me. So big plug for that book also.
Yeah, our culture doesn't reward kind of tiny incremental changes, right? Our brains are so accustomed to, the headlines, whether they're the news headlines or what we see on social media, it's kind of the big, exaggerated, all that. But reality is, these great habits, especially mindset, are very incremental. I love that you guys said that. If anyone hasn't heard of The Miracle Morning or read it, I highly recommend it. For me, I need structure. I know not everyone's like that, but being able to think of this SAVERS acronym, which each represents 6 different habits to do in the morning, even if they're just 1 minute each, they don't have to be 10 minutes each, taking up an hour in your morning. Great if they do, but if they don't, to Doug's point, at least, you're choosing that habit and it's highly effective. So I know that's helped me a ton. I know we've got about 12 minutes left. I wanted to see before we kept going, if there are any questions. I'd love to have, folks, if you want to type anything in the chat or if you want to come on mic. Oh, I see Tammy Sutton in the audience. Hey, Miss Tammy. Tammy's my business partner. I love her.
Hi, haven't talked to you in a hot minute. How you doing?
Yes, ma'am. I'm good. How you doing? Great.
I would kind of piggyback on what Douglas was saying too.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been doing the Marvelous Mondays. We've been doing the summit twice a year ever since we started in March of 2020. And having that to build on, we can add stuff because we talked about adding in a mastermind. And I was like, well, we could do that on Monday. Why would it be Monday? Because Monday is my day. That's the day out of the week that I have committed to doing everything. It's really funny to hear me say that or to hear myself say that, because the whole reason why Marvelous Mondays got started was because I was staying in bed all day Monday, half the day Tuesday. On Wednesday, I might get into a groove. And so I'd work all day Wednesday and half a day Thursday, or all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and then half a day Friday because it was the weekend. And so it was 100% selfish that I started Marvelous Mondays on Mondays at noon Eastern because it forces me to get going on Monday. And so now it's like I can add a mastermind. I can add things on Monday because I've already committed to Monday. And so then it's like, well, what else can I do? Okay, well, I have meetups, and Emma started a meetup on Thursday now. So there's a meetup every day at lunch. So that's
Yeah.
part of my schedule now. And so I was able to structure my day because I need structure. I got ADHD. I need structure. I hate structure, but I need it. And so it's like putting all of these things. It was a way to give structure, but still have flexibility. And then just realizing, and it just hit me.
Need what you hate.
The obstacle is the way, to an extent. I'm with the Angel on that. I'm never going to be a blocking guy on my calendar. I try it. I try it. I try it. It fails. I try to block. I try it. It fails. I am going to be what is the one thing that makes everything easier or unnecessary guy, where I just have to go by priorities. But I really appreciate there is only a modicum of structure. We do need some, but that's what business partners are for, that are your opposite. Thank you, Jason.
That's funny. It's really funny.
So I'm listening to this, and like, we were talking about starting a mastermind, and it's cool to see where we're at now because we're actually discussing those things. And I would also say, I mean, I'm hearing all this amazing stuff, the miracle morning, the this, the that, but you don't have to be a 5 a.m. person to be productive. Not every high performer out there is waking up at 5 a.m. You have to do what works for you to help you reach peak productivity, not what some book tells you is going to help you. Miracle for you.
Yeah, I completely agree, Angel, on that, because you can force yourself into things, but the long run sustainability things is, if you're doing something that's completely anathema to your nature, it probably is just going to be a constant battle, and just you're setting yourself up for just a lifetime of pain if you do that. So I think being really direct about your own nature and saying, is this really should I be in this lane? For example, the zone of genius, the zone of meh, and the zone of I freaking hate doing that. So being in your zone of genius to the extent you can with whatever you're trying to do, also, I completely agree.
I love what you're saying, and it's also interesting too, because working with Jason like these last few months, I just flat out forgot that this can be new to people. Like you guys are talking about dressing properly, and like that's something that I started to deal with at the end of 2011. Okay, which is where it hit me. It's like, no, dress for the job you want, not the job you have, is the way that they say it. But if you have the job you want, then you should also still dress accordingly, right? And so that's why like all of this is just out of comfort and realizing like, hey, if I'm going to, like if this is my workplace, I might as well make it as comfortable as humanly possible. So I think it's really important to dress the part as well. And I haven't been as acknowledging of the fact that a lot of this is new to Jason, and I'm realizing it's kind of funny. So yeah, I thought Jason was going to say something, but I should have known.
Well, I was, but you kind of diverged. So I was going to piggyback off of Douglas, and I think we're about to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is you have to live by rules.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be somebody else's rules, but if you're not living by someone else's rules, you have to make your own and live by them. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to basically thrive in life. So you have to live by some set of rules. And if you don't like any rules out there, make them up yourself. So
right, find a way to make it work. Yeah, there you go. Good stuff. So we've only got a short amount of the video left. Just a reminder, this is the REI Rocks review. We do this every Friday starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's me and Angel. Sometimes we have guests. Sometimes Jason can make it. And we review a video from the library of Summit recordings. And then the idea is that we watch it live because everything becomes dated so quickly. We're lucky that because we're not just talking about generic techniques in commercial real estate. It has a lot more longevity or shelf life, but there's nothing as good as commenting right now, as in like, hey, I just saw this morning that it said blah, 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 and here we are talking about it in a context of 2 years ago. Isn't it interesting how much or how little things have changed? So let's continue on and get this.
Me that I committed the most horrible day of the week to do something, and it worked. And so in my head, I'm like, man, if I can do that and do it on Mondays, which are horrendous, what else is possible? So once you've committed to it and you've done it, you've got the consistency, what else is possible?
And I want to add something. I too, like Angel, have I rebel against structure for the most part. A great book about this that helps folks in our category that are just creatives and really just don't rebel against it. The One Thing by Derek Keller. What is the one thing that makes everything else easier or irrelevant? So you just ask a focusing question. You don't have to worry about a ton of different, like a 17 task list. What is the one thing that makes everything easier or unnecessary? And if you just loop that question over and over and over again, some great things will happen. Also, a plug for Pomodoro. I don't know if you've ever seen the Pomodoro technique. Is very helpful to create some structure if you need just a little bit of structure. Pomodoro has been very effective for me as well.
Brilliant.
What is that? Now I need to know.
It's very interesting. You basically you do 20-minute increments of work and then 5-minute break, then 20 minutes of work. So it's very like you just have you sprint for 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 5-minute break, 20 minutes, 5-minute break, and then an hour break after a block of 4. And so you basically commit to just a brief period of focus. And so you're not trying to, okay, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. I have my entire day spoken for. It's not, I don't think that's, for me, has never worked really. In terms of, it works well for networking. I seem to be okay with meetings and stuff like that. I do that naturally. I love to show up in the networking meetings and stuff like that. But when you have to really do some, paperwork or the stuff that I just loathe to do, Pomodoro is great for that phase of the day.
But so you're sitting there saying that 20 minutes. So this is faster than normal. And I don't know who else would need a book like this. It was amazing. Todd Dexheimer suggested it to me. I was like, what? I almost read the whole thing in one day. And then I got distracted and haven't finished it yet. And that was 2 weeks ago. But it talks about how like you figure out when you're in the zone. And this is especially true for people who have ADHD. And you're like, do 20 minutes and then take a break. When I'm doing something, Jason realized a couple of years ago, he's like, you work in bursts.
Yep.
And so I may not do anything for 5 days. And then over a 3-day period, I do a month and a half worth of work because I work in bursts. And so I wouldn't be able to break up my day 20 minutes or I'd never get back in the groove ever. So I think, that if it works for you, man, that sounds great. And I'm just trying to find things that work for me too. And he talks about like how he wrote a book. He got a flight to Japan or something, a really long flight. And he got on the plane, started writing, gets to the destination, gets off, gets back on the plane, flies back home. And that's when he wrote his book. Was on the flight because he realized this is how I get work done.
That's wild.
And Amy, I want to add something else here real quick that I think is really important. It's the concept of modeling. When we don't have a system or a structure of how to get things done, you can always ask yourself, who's really great at doing this? And so you can bring in the concept of modeling and figuring out, okay, well, for sales, there's guys like Eli Wild and Jeremy Miner. I want to be really great at sales. Well, I can go get their model and pull it in. And so so Pomodoro techniques are the one thing. So you can always look outside yourself and ask that question: who's really great at X, and bring that model into your world.
I love that. That modeling is so huge. I want to plug the Forest app. I don't know if anyone's a child like I am, but essentially you can use the Pomodoro technique, maybe schedule 20 or 30 minutes, and the tree grows for whatever allotted time that you're trying to not touch your phone and focus. And then you can have a beautiful forest if in fact you decide to not touch your phone and get distracted. So I have a pretty forest, and it means a lot to me to not have it burn down, touch my phone when I'm not supposed to. So just a little hack if you're a 41-year-old person that needs that like me. Wow, powerful stuff. We're rounding the last 5 minutes, and I'd love to give each of you 30 seconds, well, maybe closer to 60 if you would, which is one last takeaway you want to impart with folks about mindset, how important it is, a tip or trick. And we've all shared so much goodness here, but let's wrap it up strong and leave folks with one last nugget of value. Dr. Nancy, would you go first?
Well, this thought came to mind because I just attended my daughter's. They had an international night yesterday, so I was actually able to go into her school, which we haven't been able to. And I'll try to find a picture of it. But like in the cafeteria where we were, there was this huge poster board, and I was so surprised. It said, "Do you have a growth mindset?" And basically on one side, it listed all the phrases of the fixed mindset, like "I can't" or "This is too hard." And then on the other side, it was like, "This is a growth mindset. I can. These challenges are helping me." And I was like, if they're teaching this stuff to 5-year-olds, we need to be learning this stuff as adults, or relearning it and unrewinding our brain to learn this stuff. And I thought it was just so powerful. And I would encourage the audience to think about the stories that you're telling yourself and whether they're serving you. And one of the key words that has helped me, and I hope will help the audience in how to shift from that fixed to growth mindset, is to put the word "not yet" behind your sentences. So if you say, "I don't know how to invest in real estate," if you just say that period, you're kind of in that fixed mindset. But if you put, I don't know how to invest in real estate yet,"
yeah,
you're in that growth mindset. Or like, "I don't know how to buy that apartment," period, fixed. "I don't know how to buy that apartment yet," growth. It means that you're going to get there, but you're just going through that growth period to get to that endpoint. So that's what I would leave the audience.
Boom. Wow. Thank you for that. I wrote that down. Very powerful. Doug, you're up next, my friend, and then we'll go to Angel / Jason.
as you are listening today at this panel, somewhere, maybe not in your mind, but somewhere deep below, there is an idea that's going to grow today. And as you find yourself, and I don't know, it might be tomorrow, it might be next week, that change may happen sooner rather than later. And you may find yourself with a new set of optimism and a new awareness that I don't have to stay stuck anymore, and I can achieve anything I want.
Powerful. Powerful, powerful. All right. Thank you for that. Angel, Jason.
You want to go first?
Sure. Mindset for me is I have to have a lot of outside information coming in to keep me in my mindset. If I just rely on myself, it doesn't happen. Partly because I don't have like the good habits that I need. But I listen to podcasts about mindset, even just podcasts about entrepreneurship or real estate. Just keep my mind focused on my goal of what I want to do. That triggers my mindset to move forward and not fall back into old habits and stuff. So that's what I do.
So I guess what I think is really important for anyone that's like me, just because something is familiar to you, doesn't mean it's good for you. And I have a tendency when the stuff is hitting the fan is to fall back on things that were familiar to me, despite what they do for me or what they do to me.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of my thing is it's okay for things to not feel great and for you to be a little uncomfortable. It's temporary. And just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's good.
Wow. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Okay, so as everyone has moved designed by this panel, thank you all so much for that knowledge. So hopefully everyone, I took a whole bunch of notes. Hopefully you did as well. I think we all have access to the recording. It's probably worthwhile. I know I'm going to do this to at least go back once, maybe twice to re-listen, make sure I am really incorporating all of this great knowledge. And I love that my coach, Trevor McGregor, says success leaves clues, right? So if you want to go somewhere and be, like all of these amazing people on stage, they're telling you about these mindset habits that they have, how they intentionally work on this. It's not just their actual skills in real estate, but it's where their mind is and how that creates their reality. So incredibly powerful. And I'm going to leave the audience with a challenge to choose one idea that they heard from anyone on the panel today. And let's say starting October 1st, since that'll be kind of a clean break, try to apply just one of those ideas to your life for 30 days. October 1st or 31 days, October 1st to October 31st. And just commit to that one small change, one small idea, and observe what it could do to your life. So thank you all so much. Thanks for attending. Thanks to these amazing panelists. Angel and Jason, thanks for letting me moderate. And
Thank you.
You muted, Dan?
All right, good. So that was it. And I had that little push for the Marvelous Mondays down there on the screen. That's actually the registration link. So you can actually use that right now. And it should be in the chat or whatever platform you're watching. Who has some, usually we have the doggy bag, which is the takeaways from this, and that's the thing about mindset. It's so personal, and then it's so funny how like everybody's story ends up seeming so similar, like maybe to me anyway. It's like we're all fighting with the same judgmental sides of ourselves. We're all just trying to figure out a way to get out of our own way and make stuff happen, right? Who wants to start it off?
Well, I just want to say a moment of gratitude. Speaking of gratitude, and most importantly, the thing that has accelerated my results and aren't almost like aren't ideas, but it's a tribe of people that are on a similar path, and you guys have just gratefully close enough to where I want to be, but not far enough away that I don't relate. And so your willingness to generously share with everyone what you've accomplished so far and how you're completely crushing it has been just an incredible gift in my life. So I want to thank you guys for having for both being you and who you are as people. But Angel, thank you so much for just being ferocious in the networking and showing you don't have to be the cookie cutter, and in fact the being your individual self it's pretty beautiful, man. And thank you guys very much for that, and thank you, Dan.
Definitely Our pleasure. The fact is, in this business more than a lot of others, people are coming from everywhere and coming into commercial real estate. You know, it's you're talking to attorneys, you're talking to physicians, you're talking all kinds of different people, and the only thing that everybody has in common is they were grown-ups by the time they started. You know, it's not like you know, when you're a little kid and you're used to trying out for the baseball team or whatever it is. It's a whole different thing entirely. Jason, do you want to chime in, or Angel? It looked like you were going for the unmute button. If you wanted to try.
Angel have something?
Okay, I guess.
Sorry,
Oh,
I was trying to unmute. I think it goes back to a lot of what was said, and that was, you know, stuff isn't fluff. It's what's going to keep you going. And there'll be plenty of times when you're beat down, like I was during the burning. It's what's going on in your head that's going to keep you going, and that's kind of where the commitment thing comes back into play for me, because I mean, I'm not even lying when I say that there and all I want to do is lay in bed and sleep. And knowing that I committed Mondays means that no matter how I feel, I still get up and do what I committed to. And so but that's a mindset thing. Knowing that that's something I committed to, therefore I have to get up and do it. That's what makes me do it. And so the mindset piece is just so important, and it's not fluff, and there is no other meat and potatoes out there because right, nothing else is going to work.
yep, that really is it. That's I love that way of putting it. It's that's fantastic. And so this is the REI Rocks review. Jason, did you have anything to add before we give everybody the rest of their day back?
I didn't have anything. I think Douglas says it the best. The mindset's not everything; it's the only thing. So
There you go. Exactly. That's what we're all banking on here. So every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we are going to be live streaming a piece of content, a masterclass, a roundtable, a panel discussion from the virtual summits. That the thing I think most people will notice that differentiates this content from others is that while we'll start off with something that's more or less available for beginners, it really is a group of professionals. So we are going to get to the point where we're not going to have one of these presentations unless experienced operators, syndicators, and buyers and sellers can actually get something out of it. So I'm really excited to be doing this, and I'm really grateful that that Angel is playing along for this. I think this is some pretty awesome stuff. Jason, thank you for joining today. Douglas, this has been awesome as a guest. So make sure that you keep an eye out for the next one. Check out the chat, because I'll figure out some sort of link or something to make it really easy to view all of these going ahead. Thanks a lot. Any other parting words? Just go ahead.
nope, I don't have anything. See you at the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.